What's up? Today we are doing a March wrap up of all the books that I read. Exciting. Um, this month was a mixture of different things. Um, this was kind of one of those months where it was a hit or miss month, and there were hits and misses. And I'm going to explain my reasonings for rating these the way I did. And like I said, there was a lot of 5 stars and there was a lot of 1 stars to go around. So, we will start off. I'm going to make this quick because I got to go record my podcast on Disney. It's in high demand, and I'm going to give the people what they want. So, we're going to be as quick as possible with these, and I'm going to tell you my thoughts and whatever. So, let's jump right into it. The first book I read this month, in the month of March, is called The Age of Fentanyl. Wow, worse. Ooh. Goodness. Fentanyl, whatever way you say it, I say fentanyl most of the time, but I guess the correct way of saying it is fentanyl. I don't even care at this point. Anyway, the point is, this book gives I guess, different perspective on the war on drugs. I gave it a 4-star. It's by Brody Rahman, and he's actually he's located, I believe, in Canada, but he gives a interesting perspective on the war on drugs. This book kind of swayed me into believing that handing out crack pipes and needles to shoot up is actually probably a good idea, or a decent idea, because basically the argument this author gives is that in the long run it'll prevent further serious illness from taking place, because certain diseases that an illness that's spread through multiple use of needles and crack pipes could be prevented by just handing them out. Now, do I think this should be taxpayer funded? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't think it should be having to come out of people's paychecks. And the reason why I say that is, most Americans, most Canadians, I would guarantee to say most people on this planet do not want to be a part of, basically facilitating someone's drug use. And so, I don't think it should be taxpayer funded, but I do believe that the way in which he explained it, it actually makes sense. Why there's a push towards getting clean crack pipes, and I know it sounds crazy, but basically his explanation was this crisis has gone so far that there's really nothing anybody can do to stop it, except for trying a new method out, like this. So, I don't write off the whole giving them out for free, completely. I just don't believe it's something that the general public or a church should be involved in. That's just my opinion. Yeah, he's a doctor, and, basically, he's seen, shares his perspective on what he's seen and what he believes after all these years could possibly fix this crisis. And so I do think that anybody that's been on the front lines of a fight like this or seen the same thing happen over and over again, I do believe that we should hear out their side of the story, and I do believe that they have something important to add and say to the story. I've never read the book Dope Sick, and I haven't watched the show yet, and I'm honestly dying to. But from what I've heard, this is very similar to that book, and it's even mentioned in the book. He references that particular book, and so if you like Dope Sick, now, like I've said, I've never read it, but you might like this book, so I'm giving that recommendation based on that. The second book I read this year was Michael Malice's The Anarchist Handbook. Let me just say something straight off the bat. My views on politics has changed so radically in such a short time and in such a short time of living that I am open to hearing different perspectives. Okay, I am open to it. The book was here's the thing. Okay, the audiobook was kind of frustrating, I'm not gonna lie. I thought, like, I'm one of those who likes a full cast of characters in an audiobook. The only issue I had with it was the quality of the recording and the different accents and stuff like that. It was just all over the place to me, and I didn't like that. But basically all this book was a compilation of different anarchist writings and some further explanation on it. But I thought the writings he sourced were interesting. They were thought-provoking. I find these days that my views align heavily with definitely not libertarian. I am definitely not a libertarian. I don't believe everybody should do, because a lot of libertarians are pro-choice, which means pro-death. They're pro-death, guys, and I am not a libertarian in any shape, fashion, or form. We can have that discussion a different day again. But I find these days my views align more with anarchists, believe it or not. And all anarchy means is basically the breaking down of the control that the powers that be have. I think the correct terminology for where I stand right now is I'm just anti-state, okay, is what I am. And because all of the mechanisms that have been put in place have absolutely failed and have failed the people and are just not working, okay, quite frankly. So that's what I am, but I'm not completely anti-state because there are... That's just a conversation to get into it on a different day. But anyway, the point is, I had read this to enlighten myself and educate myself on how that, and I really thought the sources that he pulled were kind of from all over the spectrum of what anarchists believe. And it was interesting. It was an interesting read. The only reason why I give this 1 star is because of the fact that Michael Malice supported Dave Rubin and what was going on there. Okay, that is the only reason why I give this a 1 star, is because I'm very disappointed. But I guess I shouldn't be, because anarchists are in a lot of ways, are very similar to libertarians. So I guess I should not be surprised. But I'm just not happy on his stance with that. And so I just... And it wasn't even like he wrote most of the book, guys. Like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, it was not... All he did, basically, was copy and paste different writings from anarchists and put them in a book, and maybe explained a little bit about each of them, and basically that was the extent of it. So I was not really impressed. I was interested in the writings, but I was not impressed with this book at all, to be really honest with you. I would have liked more commentary from Michael Malice. That's just me, though. I don't know if anyone else felt the same way if they read this book, but that's just how I felt. The other book that I'm going to have to censor myself on, because the title in and of itself could seriously get this taken down on this main channel, and I really don't want to do that. But it was a 5-star read. Guys, this thing reminds me of Seberg, and the COINTELPRO program that the FBI was running with Hoover and everything. They mention it in this book. This book really opened my eyes to a lot of things, including how crooked Trump's sister is. It opened my eyes to the fact that Hoover could have possibly been gay, which I had no idea about. It was called Tonight We Bead the U.S. Capitol by William Rosenau. You will find what I'm talking about when looking up his name. This book was so fascinating about how the system worked within the group, how strict they were. They were basically very cult-like, okay? They were militant lesbians, as a lot of people like to say. And basically, that's what they were. And it was such, reading about Tupac and his family and everything actually ended up connecting back to this story. And this story is basically like hand in hand. It links to the Black Panther Party and all these different organizations back in the 70s and 80s. Basically the Hoover era of the FBI. And I would actually suggest that you did what I do, that you do what I did, and watch Seberg first, which was a really good movie, and then read this second, and you'll kind of have a baseline for the setting and the characters, and basically, I mean, it's a real true story, but what I'm saying is, it'll set the baseline for what that era looked like. And it's very, the similarities are definitely there because the stories are similar. And it's just really interesting to see how they were hiding from the feds, and what the network looked like. And it was just really, it was one of those reads where I just couldn't stop listening, because it was so interesting. It was just so interesting, and I really recommend it. It was a 5-star read. The second one well, not the second one. What am I talking about? The 1, 2, 3. The fourth book I read in the month of March was called Appetite for Innocence by Lucinda Berry. This book was extremely disturbing. Trigger warnings all over the place. All over the place, guys. Just trigger warning. I'm telling you, if you are someone that is severely disturbed by child abuse, child sexual abuse, triggered by murder, and this book was highly disturbing, but it was a 5-star read because it was definitely I could actually, you know what I was thinking of when I was reading this book? It kind of reminded me of Split. If Split was, if the movie Split took the route, I guess, that viewers were thinking in their minds while watching the movie. That is what I had thought about while reading this book. This book is about 3 underage girls and a man who decides to, this is fiction, by the way, but it's based on it's not based on real events. Anyway, I guess I should describe it this way. The author is, I believe she's a psychiatrist, and that's why she deals in specifically childhood trauma, okay? And I think that's why this book is so realistic. I don't want to spoil the story, but I'm going to tell you the plot because I think it's important to tell you the basics and the basis of what this is about, because otherwise you may be completely caught off guard if you just go into this with nothing. It's about 3 minors. They're locked up in this creepy ass guy's basement. He only lets certain girls out every now and then to the top floor, not the basement. And he only takes them out of their rooms for really twisted, messed up purposes. In a way, this also kind of reminded me of the movie that just came out, Split. Minus the cannibalism. I'm just saying, it kind of reminded me of the way that he's keeping all these girls, and when taking them out, he's only doing it for his twisted purposes. Okay, so it's like, those are the 2 movies that I'm gonna describe. The setting kind of reminded me of, and so these girls basically remember that they were taken. Some of them remember that they were taken. One of them doesn't remember much, doesn't really care. Her family was basically no good. And I'm not going to spoil what exactly her family did, but she's the one that's super loyal to him because she has a reason to, because her family was so shitty. And I'm not going to spoil what her family did to her, but let's just say that let's actually say nothing and let you find out if you decide to read this. 5-star read. It was, and I want to read more of her books now because it was just so it puts you in the perspective of a kid in survival mode, basically, and what they would have to do in a situation like this. Yeah. Strange, the 5th book I read in the month of March, and the last book I read in the month of March, was called Strange Medicine, A Shocking History of Real Medical Practices Through the Ages by Nathan Belovsky. Okay, whatever. This book sucked so bad, and I'm not the only one that thinks this on Goodreads. I was looking through the reviews, as well, and I was not the only one that thought this, and I'm actually going to, look and see. I mean, these were such grotesque stories, but it was just, this book was beyond unnecessary, guys. There was no organization. It was written so poorly. I've never read a book that was written so poorly as this one. It was written so poorly. So unnecessary. It was just, there was nothing to it. Yeah, it was just not any good. The organization was no good. There was no larger theme to this book. It was just so unnecessary. I don't even know why I finished it. I guess it was because it was short, but it was actually terrible. The stories were disgusting. It was just, I couldn't stand it. And I thought I was gonna like it because I'm like, okay, like, I usually like to listen to, and research how the medical profession has effed up multiple times throughout history. But this book was just, it wasn't doing it for me. 1-star read. I mean, it was actually terrible. That was all for the month of March, and I'm going to give you my current read, because that's what I did last time. And I found even more books through Hoopla that I'm interested in, by searching up certain keywords instead of just digging through the genres. Currently, I am reading the Monsanto Papers, which is very similar, in my opinion, the writing style and the courtroom drama and the absolute tragic stories really remind me of the Radium Girls. It also reminds me of the movie Dark Waters with Mark Ruffalo in it, which I talked about as well in the year 2021, about 2020. This book is super in-depth on specifically the one guy's case. Let me actually read. Lee Johnson. Everybody in the truther community knows who Lee Johnson is. He is the one. He was the landmark case. He was the one that won the money. He won the lawsuit over the Roundup. Now, I guarantee you, most truthers have no idea how disturbing this story is and how severe his illness was and what exactly led to him being in that position to where he would have won all these millions of dollars. This story is 100% tragic. Like I said, it reminds me of the Radium Girls because of how graphic and gory the details are of his illness. It is a story of lawyers that actually care about justice and are doing their jobs. I'm 50% in through it. It's also a story of corporate corruption, the covering up of information that was made well aware to them, the extra miles that they went to cover up, the emails, the communications between supposedly regulatory organizations. And I've said this on my Instagram. And once you read Radium Girls, you will understand what I mean. And once you watch documentaries like Food Inc., you will understand what I mean when I tell you these regulatory boards are nothing more than pawns in corporations' games. They are nothing more than literally for show. They are cardboard cutouts, and they are only put up for show. Do you understand what I'm telling you? It is these boards do not do their jobs. A lot of the people on these boards are paid off by these specific corporations. And it is just this, guys, this story actually made me cry. It was kind of like Radium Girls. Radium Girls made me cry. I didn't tell you guys that. Radium Girls literally made me cry. This made me literally almost want to bawl my eyes out because of how sad his story was and of how badly and how much these companies and corporations absolutely have a total disrespect for human life and have a disrespect for all life, quite frankly, because we all know, and listen, I've been doing research on Monsanto since I was a kid. since I was a kid. What they have done to farmers, what they have done to the bee population and the monarch population is honestly criminal, and criminal charges should be brought forth, in my personal opinion, to companies like this, companies like DuPont, companies like Pfizer, companies like all these different companies that have a history, Johnson & Johnson, all of these different companies have a literal history, of being corrupt, being crooked, and all of these different regulatory boards have a history of being basically paid off, had histories of being in these corporations and companies that they actually say they're supposed to regulate. How are you going to tell me that's not a conflict of interest, guys? I'm sorry, but how is that not a conflict of interest? And so I am just absolutely so sad about this book. I'm sad. I'm sad that this case existed, and that this is something that continues to take place, and that there seems to be no repercussions, and they can lose all the money in the world. But do you know what they end up doing? They end up merging with companies. They end up splitting up the company. They end up doing all this wacky shit so they can stay around for forever, and never go away. And I'm serious, guys. I mean, when they have their own, this seriously reminds me of the rating girls. When they have their own employees dressing up from head to toe in protective gear because they know how dangerous Roundup and glyphosate was. And they're telling these average, everyday Americans, oh, it's the safest thing on planet Earth. Don't you ever worry. You don't even need to wear gloves. You don't even need to wear goggles or a mask or long sleeve shirt. None of it. You don't need any of it. Just go out and spray your whole yard with this crap. And the stories, and it's not even just his story. It's these different farmers that use it and got cancer. There was this one poor story about this dog. I mean, guys, you must research this thing. And this story, you must listen to this book. This book is so well written. This is gonna be a 5-star read for me. And while reading this book, which came out last year, her other book called Whitewash was recommended, was shown in my recommended from 2018. I'm telling you, this author, Casey Gillum, no, not Casey Gillum, Carrie Gillum. She is an amazing writer, researcher, journalist. This is pure journalism, guys. She is, honestly, she's up there, guys. I mean, her writing is so amazing. I want her to write more books. Can we get more books, Carrie Gillum? I mean, seriously, this is just so amazing. And a lot of this stuff, specifically about the company itself, I knew. And like she was mentioning the bees and the monarchs and what they do to farmers. Oh, guys, what they do to farmers, guys. It's unbelievable, guys. The terror that they strike into these independent farmers, the absolute harassment, guys, and trying to literally destroy them. It was such a good book, guys. It's such a good book. And like I said, I'm 50% of the way through it. I just can't get enough of this girl. And guys, there's certain authors that I like. And there's certain authors that I would read everything from. This is one of those authors that I would literally read anything she writes. I mean, anything. She is so talented. The lawyers, guys, we really should do a video on my podcast about lawfare and the lawyers that have literally made history throughout history, lawyers that people really should be thanking and looking up to, and will go down in history as being actual heroes. And let me tell you, these lawyers that took these cases are heroes. Heroes, guys. They are absolute heroes, and they're doing the Lord's work. They are doing the Lord's work. So anyway, I would recommend this to everyone, even though I haven't even finished it yet. And I am just, guys, it's probably, this book I can see in my top 5 this year. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so I've found a lot more, books. For whatever reason, Hoopla this month is recommending true crime books, and one of them that I'm seriously looking at reading this month is called The Real Lolita, and I've heard about this case before, and I want to learn exactly more about it. I want to learn more about it, and also another. Well, I guess I'll leave that for next month. I found another really great author, guys. Another really great author, and guys, I can't get enough. I can't get enough of these audiobooks, guys. Specifically on true stories, and there's so much to read, so much to learn, so much to know. It's just exciting, guys. It's really exciting. I love this platform. I can't recommend Hoopla enough. They have thousands of titles, just thousands, and you could honestly get lost on how many they have. And I gotta tell you, this particular month of April, I have been reading a lot of really good books, and I want to let you guys know my Goodreads progress thus far. So far, let's pop in a Goodreads. As of recording this, it is April 13th of 2022, and I am 35% of the way through my challenge, which is set for 40. I've read 14 out of the 40 so far, and according to the Goodreads website, I'm actually 3 books ahead. I'm 3 books ahead, according to the website. So, I mean, I'm doing well, guys. It's not even halfway through the year, and I'm like, I'm ahead of the game. So, and I love that, because if there's a week where I'm not able to read, I don't really have to worry too much, because I'm 3 books ahead, guys. So, kind of exciting. Anyway, I really hope they release some extra brawls this month, though, because these past few months we haven't gotten extra brawls, and I'm just kind of annoyed at that. But anyway, really enjoying the books that I've read. This month while recording, not so much last month. Last month, like I said, was a hit and miss month for me. And if you have any recommendations, throw them in the comment section below. And because I always appreciate book recommendations, and especially if your reading taste is similar to mine, I would really appreciate it. So, until next time, bye, guys.